Welcome to the Fight Against Free Kill Laws with Ed Salazar, where we give a voice to those who have suffered firsthand from medical malpractice. In Florida, families devastated by medical negligence are left without justice because of a law many don't even know exists. Florida's free kill law prevents families from holding doctors accountable. These are real stories with real loss and no justice. Contact Ed at 561-239-2417 or visit afreekill.com. Today we uncover the truth, share real stories, and demand change.
Good evening again, my friends, and thank you, as always, so very much for taking the time to tune into our program. Before we have tonight's guest, I want to do a quick update on what's going on in the Florida legislature with the free kill laws. As we told you last week, the House Bill 6017 flew through with an overwhelming majority, 104-6. Then it has to go through the Senate process. And our big concern right now, and this is urgent, our big concern is that this session of the legislature ends May 2nd. And if this, now this is Senate Bill 734, and if that is not heard before May 2nd, then the whole process may have to start all over again. So I think, we have some information on the key senators. Please take the time to contact Senator Pasadomo. She is the Rules Chair in the Senate, and on the screen right now is her phone number and her email address. And also contact Senator Ben Aberton. He is the Senate President, and you have his office phone number and his email as well. Please contact them and let them know how much you desire for them to hear this bill before the end of this current legislative session. Tonight's guest is powerful. She has a very, very powerful message. And before I introduce you to her, I'd like you to watch a trailer from a movie produced by Angel Studios. And there will be no doubt in your mind what it is that she's going to be talking about tonight.
I don't think I can do this job, Tim. As soon as I lay down, all I see are those kids' faces. How long you been doing this? 12 years. How do you do it?
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade.
Señor Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Quizá puedas ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed. What will we do?
Shivering stars drift around in the sky.
We're Homeland Security. We can't go off rescuing kids in Colombia.
I like all
This job tears you to pieces. This is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
We're talking about extracting an 11-year-old girl from an army of rebels.
Not just her. I'm talking about rescuing hundreds of kids.
She could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA.
Over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. If we do nothing, someday it's gonna reach the likes of you. if this was your daughter?
Wherever I go, I find my way home.
If you would like to help us expose the horrible reality of human trafficking by bringing this true powerful story to the big screen, express interest now at angel.com/freedom.
The first time I saw this movie, I was very, very moved. And then I learned a little bit about Angel Studios. This movie was completed 5 years before it was released because they could not get any major studio to pick it up. You got to ask yourself why. What was their reservation? What was their hesitation? Angel Studios ran with it, and it was hugely successful. And now the story is out, and more people are talking about it. Robert and Lori Henry are two entrepreneurs that from West Palm Beach County, and a few years ago they started a concierge-type home health agency, Private Care Solutions, and they were very, very successful. Being people of deep faith, they wanted to give back, so they started a nonprofit, and this nonprofit is dedicated to providing shelter to women in need. Lori Henry, I'd like you to just tell us what life experiences you had that drove you to choose this type of a nonprofit.
Okay. I first want to say thank you for, giving a platform and a voice to this population, because, that trailer just showed a glimpse of the horror that millions of people experience every single day. And once you know that and you have compassion like you do, a compassionate human knows that, you're left with kind of a question in your head. What are you going to do with that knowledge? What are you going to do with what you know now? How do you become a part of helping? And like Angel Studios or the producers of that movie found, it was so difficult to find a place to make that voice heard, right? Because this is to start with, this is over $250 billion annual industry. So there's a lot of players involved in this. There's a lot of wealth involved in this. There's a silence that's deafening that goes with this cause. And for me, when I was over 30 years ago, I read a story of these girls in India who were being sold to the temple gods for sexual usage, so that the family could get a cow or get something in return for that child and some kind of favor with their gods. And I thought, this can't be true. This can't be real.
And how long ago was this?
So this is I was younger. This is over 30 years ago. But it put such a passion in my heart to do something, like just thinking about the pain and suffering of those little girls. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I researched it more and more. Long story short, I began to travel to different countries on behalf of them. I traveled with International Justice Mission in Thailand. I traveled with other groups to Albania, to South America, to many different countries. And the story was the same in every country. I travel by plane, by bus, by boat, by little car into this rice field where it opened up into this little group of girls and maybe a couple boys that were being protected there by a handful of people. And I think what needs to be said too is that, people hopefully that are hearing this have a a soulful human heart that feels what they just saw on that trailer. The people that are in this business do not. The people in this business do not feel. They do such horrific things to a human being that there's no feeling behind it.
Lori, when you were traveling, did you ever ask a law enforcement? Or is there anybody that cares about this? Is there anybody trying to protect these kids? What did they tell you?
So this is a big part of the problem. There is so much money in this. There's so much wealth in it. And I think the number that I gave is understated. What I have learned and what I have seen is that police forces, government officials, sometimes entire populations like a small country, they're actually supported by the wealth that this industry brings in. And so they're silenced because they're paid off. So when a group like IJM comes in to rescue, and human trafficking IJM is International Justice Mission, and they stand against human trafficking. So that can be sexual trafficking, that can be they're making bricks someplace and not paying for that labor. You know, it can be a lot of different things. But they would go in, and a lot of times they would work for years on, say, a sting. And at the last minute, there'd be a tip-off to the government officials. And when they went in for it, there'd be nobody there.
Yep.
But nothing is said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's a very underground, very dark, very difficult area, and people are afraid of it and afraid really to get involved in it. And when you know about it, people don't know how to get involved in it, helping.
Well, you know, something that dark, something that evil, you know, you think, well, you know, these are maybe underdeveloped parts of the world where the money that's involved just can't. But I mean, situations like that couldn't possibly exist in the United States, could they?
Yeah, most people believe that this is happening in underdeveloped countries, and that's what I believed in the beginning. But the United States of America is, I think, the third leading in trafficking. So it's a scary statistic, but it's a real statistic, and the wealthy, even in our area, Palm Beach County, are very involved in trafficking.
You mean to tell me that as many as 1 in 3 of all children all over the world that suffer this horrible evil suffer it in the United States?
Yeah. Or are trafficked into or from. So what happens with trafficking is that they want to make sure that the person who's being trafficked doesn't have a voice. So a lot of times they'll move them from country to country, and then they are left without a passport, without any identity, so that there's no way for them to escape that.
Yeah. That's
So there's a lot of border transfers. You know, here in South Florida, that's pretty easy. In a lot of our country, it's very doable.
Are you aware of activity here in South Florida?
Yeah, there's definitely activity in South Florida. And I'm involved with groups in Palm Beach County that try to work with the PBSO and helping girls that we can help, that we know are being trafficked. But it's very difficult for these gals to even get out of being trafficked because of the mental abuse that's put on them. They might be told that their family members are going to be killed because of what they're doing if they speak out, or they might be, there's a lot of abuse that is done to them to keep them silent.
Well, I can understand why you and Robert chose the nonprofit that you did. Tell us more about that.
So I started a nonprofit called Into the Clearing, and when I came back from a lot of the traveling and the trips, what I noticed here in Palm Beach County was there was a population of young girls with kids in tow that couch surfed. I call it couch surfing. So they would find somebody to stay with because they didn't have money or what they needed to survive. So they'd be used by that person. When that was done, they'd be kicked out and have to go to the next person, to the next person. So that population of people, I was passionate about those kids. I would get calls at 2 in the morning that they're being put on the street, say they'd find out that I did what I did. So, you know, I might put them up in a hotel or do something to help them in some way. But there's a huge population of young people that are very at risk and their children are in tow. So I've tried to help them. I've tried to get them an education so that they can support themselves and their kids. You know, maybe a certification in an area so that they can pay their own rent and get their kids to school. But, you know, that's hard too, because you have someone who doesn't have money for a car to get their kids to school. So it's raining. They try to get their kids to school. They're late to their subway job and they get fired because they're late 3 times in a row. It's a very difficult group to try to help. But, you know, I was able to help a lot of these girls get an education, get on their feet financially, and support themselves and their kids. And to me, that's worth helping one life at a time. Like, you know, he said in the interview and in the trailer, what if this was your child? And that's something that I believe that we have to identify with. What if this was your baby that was stolen from you in some form or fashion? You would go to the ends of the earth to find them. But because we don't know the names and faces of all these children, we don't discuss it. It's such a huge problem, but it's so unseen.
It's an unspeakable taboo.
Yeah, that it's not. So try to give these girls one at a time a place to survive in. And one of the things that we're trying to do corporately with the groups that I'm involved in is to find a couple of homes in the area that we can set up to have these girls come and have a couple of years to get the healing, to get the help that they need to be able to get on their own, because you can't do that in a month with a family or a person that's been that abused. You can't do that in 6 months. It takes time to help them to get on their feet. And we want to do a storefront where we can raise awareness, but we need that because everything in our area is very pricey right now. And so, you know, we need people to come together to all be a part of this together and try to help a handful of people if we can.
Well, a couple questions here. What can the community do to help this problem?
Mm-hmm. I think the first is awareness, right?
Yes.
It's just to acknowledge that this is happening, that this is really happening.
So everybody listening, talk about it.
Yeah.
When you get together with your family, talk about it. When you get together with your friends, talk about it. At your church, talk about it. I'm sure you'll find ears that want to listen.
And I mean, you can give my information out after this, but what we're trying to do is there's a lot of independent groups, right, that are trying to do good things, trying to help. But I believe we need to come together synergistically and work together as one to really become more of a face and a powerhouse and against this horrific industry that's in the dark right now. And what we want to do, and there's several organizations that are involved with talks. We meet together, we talk about this, and we're working on this. again, is I would like to have a storefront and have a really niche, beautiful, boutique-y kind of a thing that says to everybody that comes here, this is happening. They'll want to come because of what's presented there. And the community wants to be involved. You know, I have health spas that donate so that I can give the girls beautiful things to make them feel good. There's doctors that are willing to give their time, dentists that are willing to give their time to help these girls. So if we had housing for them, which is primary, a need, then we could get the community involved with helping them. I have no doubt in that at all. This isn't, oh, this is a good idea, I think we could do this. This has been years and years and years of walking with different people through their situations, talking with people in the community, and seeing that people like yourself want to be involved with helping these people that don't have a voice. And I think if we work together, we can do it.
Well, I know that, we are so blessed in this country. We have so many privileges, so many luxuries. Years ago, when when Hurricane Andrew came through, my wife and I were the youth ministers at St. Andrew in Coral Springs. And we got the kids from the youth group. We're going to go down to a church down in Homestead and help deliver, give out, just hand out food, hand out water, things like that. Right. So evening comes, and the kids, the girls, they want to know, okay, where do we shower? There's no shower. and for them, the thought of, I can't take a shower.
Right.
I said, boy, you kids, you gotta spend some time.
Go on a real mission trip.
So the message to the people out here is, the life that we are so privileged to enjoy. Just try to imagine the joy, the satisfaction that would come to your heart if you can find a way to share some of that with people that have never known it.
And the women that have started out in this industry that I've sat with and talked with are so broken from what's been done to them. And I don't want to just throw out terrifying statistics, but I could. But what you said is so true. What these women have experienced in their lives, just to have a safe place to lay their head and to think that they don't have to wake up the next day fighting for their life again. We can't fathom that, right? We can't fathom that in how we live here in the States. Sure. But it's happening sometimes in a house next door to you that you think the person comes in and out and waves to their neighbor like they're a good neighbor. And this is happening all around us. It's so prevalent and it's so underground. It's terrifying.
What should people look for? What kind of tips are there that something might be going on?
Well, the girls or the women that are held captive are being threatened and really terrified to stay where they're at. A lot of people think, oh, they chose that. They were promiscuous. They did something to deserve that. I mean, people that I talk to still today with all of this information available still will ask me those questions. Well, why should I support someone who...
Do you think they're trying to rationalize it so they can minimize it, trying to minimize it so they can
I think it's very painful to come to a point when you realize that this is a fellow human being that's suffering worse than a tortured animal is. That's hard to swallow. That's a hard pill to swallow and do nothing about it, right? If you're a caring person, you feel like you have to do something about it.
Well, without mentioning any names or giving away any privacy or anything, tell us about some of the women that you've worked with and why you think this is such an important thing. They love their kids just like we love our kids, right?
Oh, you know, one of the hardest things with sharing and listening to somebody's story who's been through this is hearing their passion and their heart for the simple pleasures of life that we experience every day of having a family and taking care of family. The girls almost feel like they're so brainwashed that they deserve somehow that punishment. So it's a little bit different when you're ministering to or you're helping these gals, because you have to get out of your own head and what you're used to, and you have to put yourself in their shoes enough to be able to help them climb out of the pit that they're in, right? And so there's so much psychologically that goes on that you know, it's important to for them to be able to go through a process of healing as well.
There's a lot here. We might have to do this again.
I would love to be here again to talk about it.
Well, how about we plan on scheduling an update.
Okay.
Tell the community what they can do to help.
Okay.
If people are moved, tell them what they can do right now to help.
All right. If you're moved to help, and I really pray and hope that you are, you can always reach me at theclearing17@gmail.com. That's my email address for The Clearing, and we can start communications that way. I have a website, intotheclearing.org. You can get a hold of me that way. I don't know if you want me to give a phone number over this. My number is 561-350-8032, and I am so passionate about this and helping the women that I'm willing to give that out and field any questions that you might have, or ways that you can give to help us help these women and these children really come out of the terrors of where they are and have hope for their future as well.
All right, well, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I will definitely do this again, and please, you know, let us know if this session has moved you. If you would like to get involved, if you would like to help Lori and Robert, if you have any trouble or you don't remember how to reach them, hit pause, playback, see the number again, or you all know how to reach me, okay?
Thank you for watching The Fight Against Free Kill Laws with Ed Salazar, where we interview those who have dealt firsthand with medical malpractice. Families are devastated by medical malpractice and left with no justice. This isn't just a loophole. It's a failure to protect the ones we love. It's time to change the law. It's time for accountability. Contact your state legislatures, visit afreekill.com for more information on how to help, or contact Ed at 561-239-2417. Because every life should matter.